Silver Doctors, live on air. It is Wednesday, the 11th day of the month of December. Excited to be back for another news update, as well as just a little open session to find out what's going on, share our thoughts and analysis, and then get your take as well. So, my name is Mike, and I'm here with my better half, Mr. Half Dollar. Paul, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good today, Mike. How you doing today? It's a big day today. We're in the middle of the week, and this is a very important and very interesting week that it's turning out to be.
Very much so. So it should be definitely something worthy of our of talking about today. So that being the case, we will dive right in. Let me acknowledge a couple people from the chat and thank you for taking the time. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is good to see people coming in because we changed our time here last week to 11 o'clock, and now we're starting to see people coming in to tune in live and some interaction back in the chat. So that's nice to see that. So welcome everybody.
Yeah, definitely. So let me see here. We have Albert S. says gold gets a bid due to higher than expected CPI. Rod B says only cause dumb money is following the script. Trade deal sell, no trade deal don't sell. Albert S. Big Buzz. We got Mercia, America, Silver Patriot. It says Gary D. We got Daniel, J. Silver, J. Babar, Daniel. Okay, from Israel. Okay, so we have a nice diverse crowd this afternoon. And so as always, if you guys come across articles or anything of that nature worthy of being mentioned, definitely put it in the chat and we'll try to touch on it. And then the phone lines are always open, so give us a call and share your thoughts if you like. So that being the case, Mr. Half Dollar, how do you want to kick this off?
Well, I want to kick this off with a little mini rant here, Mike. I've got to kick it off with a mini rant, if you'll let me.
Go ahead.
And I say that because I've been biting my tongue for the past 3 days, Mike. It's been pretty bad. I've been biting my tongue. There's several things going on that are just driving me crazy right now. First of all, did you hear that NAFTA 2.0 is like a done deal, supposedly?
No, I did not. Shine some light on it for me.
So apparently everybody is all in. Like all of Congress is now all in on this. President Trump is all in on this. Pelosi, right? She came out yesterday and said that this is infinitely better than the deal that was already in the works, right? So, you know, everybody's thinking, oh, there's this great deal that's coming for this USMCA, this NAFTA 2.0. But my question is, you know, if Pelosi's saying that it's a great deal, is it really a great deal? You know, and if the government created this mess in the first place, is the government really going to make it any better, or are they just going to make this mess worse? Right. So it's like everybody's saying, oh, this is great. We got this brand new NAFTA deal. The only thing that's going to change is it's going to get more burdensome from the government. That's it. Right. Look at our tax code as our example. Do taxes get any better every year? Or do they just get more complicated every year? Right. So this is not good, but I've been biting my tongue because everybody's like, oh, you know, this is great. This is going to be great for the farmers. Another thing is Volcker, right? This thing is driving me crazy. Everybody's talking about the last true American hero, the inflation fighter, the this and the that. Look, right? I don't know who the leaders of ISIS are, right? But whenever they die, I don't go out and celebrate their lives. Do you see what I'm saying? This is absolutely disgusting, right? This guy was essentially the equivalent head of ISIS, and people were celebrating this guy like he was a hero. But I've been biting my tongue on it, Mike. Another thing I've been biting my tongue on is this whole Barr thing and this whole FISA memo and all this, you know, all of this, you know, reports coming out here and there. Everybody's thinking that, you know, the Department of Justice is going to bring the hammer to all these treasonous traitors. But, you know, Barr's a deep state globalist cover-upper, right? Giuliani is a cover-upper. All these people are deep staters. Nothing is going to happen here with all of these revelations that are coming out. But I've been biting my tongue, not saying anything about it. Another thing, the tariffs, right? Tariffs are on one day, they're off one day, they're on one day. On Monday, Mulvaney came out and said, well, we're thinking about delaying them. He's the chief of staff for the White House, right? And then on just yesterday, Navarro came out. He's one of President Trump's trade advisors, right? So he came out and said, well, we're not really considering delaying them at all. So it's like this whole flip-flop thing is back and forth, but I've been biting my tongue, you know, not saying anything about it. Oh, and then the whole, like, you know, they're finding out what the Fed's doing. Oh, they're in there with the hedge funds. And everybody's talking about, you know, the Fed is bailing out the hedge funds as if this is a good thing, right? I don't understand. You know, they're like, well, you don't understand. This could cause contagion and cause a systemic crisis in the banking system. Well, that's what we need, right? The more we prop up the banking system and bail out the banking system, the more of a problem it creates in the long run. But I've been biting my tongue on that too. So it's just been, you know, a very difficult few days to navigate through here, Mike. Are you feeling any of this, or did I just totally bring you down on a Wednesday?
No, I'm fine. So I'm just listening, and one of the things I don't follow those. I tend to stay away from things that are pre-scripted and positioned to the mainstream as like being factual, like hardcore news type stuff. I focus more on the back end, things that concern Main Street. So with that being the case, I have not been to staying in tune with it much. So I'm fine because I don't have much confidence or hope that any of this will pan out to be better for you and I or our country or nevertheless the global economy. So yeah, so it's to me it's just about show and about entertaining. So I'm entertained.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no, I have to stay on top of monitoring Twitter. So this is where the source of the frustration comes out, because you see all this stuff coming out from Twitter, and it's like, people have all this wonderful enlightenment in 2 sentences, and it's like, come on, give me a break. None of this stuff is getting towards the better.
Yeah.
And that's the thing here, right? That's why, these are fundamental issues, right? And then fundamentally, right, they're not draining the swamp. That's fundamentally good for gold and silver, right? Fundamentally speaking, NAFTA 2.0 is not going to be some great, awesome, big trade deal improvement, even though President Trump said it will be the best and most important trade deal ever. He literally said that as a dark quote. And Pelosi said it's even infinitely better than that. But it's not going to be that, right? So that's fundamentally bullish for gold and silver. The tariffs on and off and this back and forth thing, there's no resolve to that. So it's just one of those things where fundamentally speaking, once people start to come to terms with things are not playing out how they think that they're playing out, then we're going to start seeing the fundamentals coming back in the markets here in gold and silver prices.
Yeah. So as you're talking, I have I guess a little bit of a quick synopsis of what the USMCA is finally done, and so here's what's inside of it. So we have a couple people giving some chit chat back and forth. But just in short, it says this is NAFTA 2.0. The agreement updates the North American Free Trade Agreement, the 1994 pact that governs more than 1.2 trillion worth of trade amongst 3 nations for the 21st century. So they're trying to shine some light on it. But once again, as you said earlier, if the Democrats are behind it, then what's actually in there and how will it appease them? Because usually we've been given the narrative of Republican Democrats always feuding against something. And so when we got the Democrats willing to compromise or promote something as being better than the prior things that's done by Republicans more than likely, that lets me know that there's probably some things in there that we won't know about, but it favors their cause and the whole continuation of the right-left paradigm. It's all the same. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to find out what's in this thing.
Yeah, and I don't know all of the details about what's in it, but I do know there's something related to like data and digital data flows and stuff like that. And I'm not sure exactly what that means as far as like any intellectual property and stuff like that. So that's interesting. Yeah. There's also sticking points when it comes to enforcement, because they're trying to make like half of the car being built with labor that's averaging $16 an hour, right? Yeah. So that's not really good for American manufacturers. Like, that means that you're going to be making $16 an hour putting together cars.
Right.
Go ahead. But I had another thought.
No, and I remember when Trump was touting the whole redoing the NAFTA deal in general, that one of the benefits I remember mentioning was that the Mexican manufacturing workers were going to get $15, $16 an hour, which was like almost double or something like that compared to what they're getting now. And my thought was that benefits the Mexican manufacturing base. But here in America, $16 an hour as a core foundational starting point is not necessarily what Americans are used to receiving for working manufacturing and automotive sector. So there's going to be a little bit of some backfire from that, I'm sure. So I doubt it gets a chance to get fully rolled out, especially heading into this next decade, because they're going to be automating everything anyway. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mexico has a minimum wage, and what I'm seeing here is, Mexicans' minimum wage is not per hour, right? It's per day, right? And it's like, I'm looking right now, and I remember for the longest time it was like $3.15 a day when I was in Mexico, and then it was raised to like $5 a day. And I think that right now the minimum wage in Mexico is $10 a day, not an hour, a day, right? So it's not going to happen. They're not going to be paying people $16 an hour. That's $5 is not going to happen. Okay, so I wasn't aware of the per day. I'm thinking it's per hour. So could it be $16 a day? No, NAFTA says like 40 to 60% of the vehicle has to be built with labor that averages $16 per hour. Yes, and Mexico's minimum wage is based on per day, and it's pathetically, abysmally low. And that's the other thing, right? Because they're touting this thing as, oh, this is great. This is going to open up, our North American neighbors to all of these great American products. Well, first of all, what do we produce? And second of all, the Mexicans can't afford what we would produce anyway.
Exactly.
Right. So it's not like maybe some Canadians, yeah, but if they're in recession, they're going to be tightening their belts too.
Yeah.
Right. So this is not good one way or another, all the way around. Right. A couple people in some sort of like micro industries, right? Like maybe some, Wisconsin dairy farmers will have some luck selling some dairy to Canada, right? But other than like little one-offs like that, overall on net, this is a bad development.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm looking at the chat real quick, and so low blood pressure says that most factories in Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, are in China.
Chihuahua, Juarez, Chihuahua.
Yeah. Okay, good point. Chihuahua are in China, so I'm assuming low blood pressure is referring to labor being shipped out or Chinese being moved into Mexico or what? I'm not sure exactly what that was referring to.
Not sure. I did an intern at this company called Comax Wire, and there's no trade secrets, so it doesn't really matter saying the name or not at this point. But and I have no secrets to tell, right? I just did this internship with them one time, but they had their headquarters in Chicago, Mike, and then they had moved to El Paso. That's where I did my internship. And this company is like this really super high-tech German company. Their North American headquarters were in Chicago, then moved to El Paso, but they make wiring harnesses for like airplanes and vehicles and really high-tech, really expensive, really important stuff. And as I was doing my internship, they were building a new facility and factory and manufacturing place down in the middle of Mexico. And that's leading me to think like, wages are much, much, much lower in El Paso on average than the rest of the nation. So they were moving out of the high wage area of Chicago down to the low wage area in the United States. But now they're taking it one step further and they're moving from the low wage area of El Paso down into the even lower wages of Mexico. Right. And like people don't see how this is playing out. And I'm looking at the place in El Paso thinking, pretty soon in another few years, nobody's going to have a job here because this company's not even going to exist here. So and then how do you deal with that? Right. Because how can someone say, they need to bring those back when the company's German? Right. It's like the Germans like, we're not going to bring it back. What are you talking about? So, I mean, it's just one big mess all the way around.
Yeah. Now watch this. So that description you just gave me about this transition of employment down to the bare minimum. And so what people who are in the manufacturing sectors or service sector in general that do pretty much automated jobs that can be automated out, they're going to be reduced to merely nothing, to where the goal will be, if you want to keep a job, you'll take whatever we give you. And if you want to stay in this line of work, you'll have to accept this, or there'll be no need for your services anymore. And so that is probably an overwhelming majority of the population happen to be in unskilled, repetitive type jobs that require no real foundational knowledge base outside of just dropping, screwing, or whatever. And those jobs this next decade will be challenged because if it can be automated, and if you're a business owner, it's in your best interest to probably take advantage of technology, even though it's cruel as it may be, but that's just a part of the transition we're in. So hopefully people begin thinking outside the box and realizing that, once again, that no particular company is responsible for your livelihood, but you are. So it's up to you to switch it up a little bit and do something different. So we'll see how that plans out. But
and then one other point on this whole trade deal thing, because this also shows the dynamics, right? If you're in Mexico right now and you're making 100 pesos a day, right? That's probably a lot. Most people are not making that, I'm sure, right? But if you're making 100 pesos a day in Mexico, and then you got you're going to go out and buy some American products. And I'm just using an example because I just want to bring this out, right? But say you want to buy some Levi's jeans, right? Well, the Levi's jeans cost $100. You're not going to be able to buy those Levi's jeans. So what are you going to buy? You're going to buy Levo's jeans, right? Those are the bootleg Levi's jeans because those don't cost $100. Those cost $10, right? So all of this stuff, it's not going to play out how people think that it's going to play out. Now, in the end, I think that ultimately, yes, standards of living in both, well, I don't know so much about Canada, but in Mexico, standard of living can only go up because they're already at bare bottom and the dollar's been crushing them since mid-2014. But in the United States, this, means standard of living can only go down, right? And the people who are Trump supporters, they're looking at this saying, oh, this is great. He's negotiated this great deal with NAFTA. But then you say, well, Pelosi thinks it's an awesome deal. What do you think about that? And then it's like they just kind of turn away and just kind of ignore that, right? The elephant in the room there.
Yeah. In the same time frame that the U.S. economy is teetering to the brink of collapse, and there's an ever-increasing homelessness population in this country. So once again, people don't have jobs, or the jobs they have they're not providing an an affordable lifestyle, that's the same as saying that we're basically in second world, third world status type of environment because people are being priced out of living in this very country. We're supposed to be the land of the free and all those things that was totted upon and built upon, which, don't seem to be the case anymore for some.
Yeah, definitely. Good points there.
All right. So what else you got? Let's check into the chat real quick and see, because I think for some reason as I'm looking at this, there's a lag. And so when you're talking, I'm noticing myself talking, so it might be a little lag. So we're still flowing though. And so in the chat, let's see if there's any thoughts, any questions. Highlight at Silver Doctors, and we'll definitely address it. And then if not, we'll keep things moving right along. Mm-hmm. And so what else? Go ahead, Paul.
Well, I wanted to bring up another topic here. Or I just totally missed that last thing you said. Did anybody have a question?
No, there was nothing highlighted, and so nothing I see other than just some thoughts being shared amongst the community. So, but go ahead.
Cool. So I want to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that's inflation, right? Mm-hmm. And you've been talking about this too, right? People need to get ready for more inflation coming. And just this week we're seeing prices of meat, right, starting to get run away and starting to get out of reach of people. In Brazil, it's getting really bad. The price of meat's going through the roof in Brazil. Mm-hmm. In China, it's getting bad. The price of meat's going through the roof in China, specifically pork. So these are things that we keep talking about, but now it's starting in other nations, and it's going to end up working its way in, right? Because, how do you alleviate the price for pork in China? Well, you get more pork in China one way or another. So what does that do? That bids up the price because there's only so much pork to go around, right? There's only so much beef to go around. So these are just supply and demand fundamentals that are going to be coming into the market here. Mm-hmm. Have you been noticing anything like that with inflation?
Not directly, not in its consumer good items as far as everyday survival needs items. I have not. So my wife tends to do all the shopping, so I stay out of that department. But we do have a call. Let's see if we can get to this call, and then we'll keep it moving. So hold that thought, Mr. Half Dollar. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello.
This is low blood pressure, Corpus Christi, Texas. I'm getting a little bit of background noise.
It's all good. So we hear you. Go ahead and share what's on your mind, my friend. Thanks for calling in.
All right, Mike. I wanted to say something. You're talking about Mexico and things like that. I think the only reason why the standard of living is so high in America is because we're the reserve currency. If you talk about natural resources, you got Venezuela, you got, Mexico with all the silver, South Africa, and you go there and you see people in extreme poverty. Mm-hmm. I think here in America, we make nothing, we produce nothing, and all we sell is dollars. That's all that goes out throughout the world is paper money. Once we lose that status, I think we're going to be living in Africa here. What do you guys think about that?
Ooh, great point there. So we'll answer that off air. Appreciate the call, low blood pressure.
All right, guys. Have a good day. Thank you.
Mr. Halfdollar, want to touch that?
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, we're turning into the third world faster than most people realize. And, if people would get out and travel and go to these different areas and see these homeless places like we're talking about, or, in the next recession, they're really going to see it, right? They're really going to see it because right now the illusion's been maintained. But, I would take an even more sinister view of that. And I think that it's planned, right? I think that they're planning to bring down the United States. And part of that is going to be destroying the dollar here. And I think that it starts in 2020. Just as everybody's all levered up on these 8-cylinder Ford trucks that get lousy gas mileage, gas prices are going to go up and then they're going to get into hem and then something's going to happen. And yeah, so, my outlook is not good. And yes, he's right. That's like all these countries are so rich, but they're so beholden to the U.S. hegemony and the U.S. dollar and just following the whole, the United States is still dictating terms around the world, and that's how it's going to be. And at one point, because people don't want to change, right? That's the thing. People are afraid of change. So people want to keep those treasuries thinking that they're worth something when they know that they're really not worth something, but they just don't want to take that loss yet. They won't take that loss. And what is taking that loss? It's, walking away from the dollar, right? And it's going to happen sooner or later. So yeah, I think that any place, right? Any place in the world is in one of 3 states all the time. This is me talking. This is my own personal theory, right? I think that a place is either falling. So like a city, right? A city's either falling, it has fallen, or it's getting up. right? So where my wife and I moved across country, we think this place is getting up because it's already falling, right? Falling. It's called the Rust Belt, right? For a reason, right? El Paso, I think that El Paso is going to be in a state of falling, right? They were in a state of getting up, right? So, you know, I think that things can only get better in Mexico in general, and things can only get worse in the United States, which means we have to go through our falling period, which is the crisis that's going to be coming here. I wanted to say one more thing about inflation real quick, if I could, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think you'll appreciate this one. So this is just yesterday, right? So just yesterday, Apple. Don't you like the iPhone, Mike?
No.
Oh, you know, I thought
I'm
you
not an Apple guy. Nope, I'm not an Apple guy. Everybody else in my household is, but not me. I never liked it.
Yeah, same here, same here. They just released the brand new Mac Pro, right? The other one looked like a stainless steel trash can, and it was pretty garbage, and it had heat issues, and I don't like Mac anyway.
Yeah.
But they just released the Mac Pro just yesterday. Mike, we configured the Mac Pro online last night. If you fully load this thing, right, guess how much the new Mac Pro costs?
I want to say like $4,000 or something like that.
Like, I'll give you another guess, and just add another zero onto that first.
Hold on. I just popped something up. Hold on. So I'm cheating, but I see a headline that says something about $52,000.
Mike, we priced it, and we could have paid over $60,000 for it, Mike, when you price it out fully decked out, right?
Fully decked out with what? Does it drive you around?
And on top of that, the tax is like almost $5,000 just in the tax itself. Mike, this is a computer, $60,000 for a computer. And here's the thing, right? People are going to be like, well, it's so much better. It's not so much better, right? It's not like going from a horse and buggy to a car. It's not like that at all. It's not even like going from black and white analog TV to a high definition 4K plasma. It's not like that at all either. You know, it's just Xeon processors, right? Multi-core processors. It's just a crap ton of storage and a crap ton of RAM, a couple graphics cards. It's not. This is like massive inflation here.
So watch this. I wonder how much gold and silver is in that unit. Not $52,000 worth.
No. But isn't that just? I mean, like you know, stuff is starting to get out of control fast, right?
My goodness.
I would like to see what the last iteration of the Mac Pro came out as when it came out, because I know for a fact it did not come out at $60,000 fully loaded, right?
Oh my goodness. I'm lost in words, man. Like I'm thinking, like, and of course there's going to be 1 or 2 people that probably buy that, but people will finance this like it's a vehicle. So imagine financing this through whatever, technology company or a store, at like $800 or $1,000 a month for how many every years.
For a computer. I mean, it's like it's amazing, and you know, Apple, all they got is software, right? They don't even produce their own processors anymore. They just use Intel processors, right? They used to use what they call PowerPC. They used to have their own line of processors, and they stopped that many years ago and just used all Intel stuff. And then they'll use like Intel or AMD when it comes to the graphics cards. But so it's not like they're manufacturing their own chips anymore. I mean, they've got their own chips for their iOS, right? But not for their for their computers. So I just wanted to bring that up because, you know, inflation is one of my topics, and, you know, we're seeing inflation everywhere. And I really do think that it's going to spark up and turn into this fast burning fire because we saw that slow print we talk about, and we saw the print over the last 10 years. But I've been hogging the mic this whole time, so I'll let you bring up the next topic.
All right, we are good because we do have a call. Let's find out what's going on. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name's Pat, and I'm from Alabama. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, Pat from Alabama. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well. I caught Joe and saw the call in, and I had 3 thoughts.
Okay.
That I wanted to bring forth to you, if I may. It may be off subject matter.
Go ahead and give it to us.
3 thoughts.
Go ahead and give it to us.
Okay, the first one, about a year ago, y'all were talking about one belt, one road, how wonderful this was. And I called in and said, hey guys, it's like laying a toothpick between 2 petri dishes. And now we have the swine flu, or swine Ebola, whichever you prefer. But I just wanted to point out that a year ago, before it even happened, I told you I was right. The next thing I got here is, I caught one of your shows, and you were talking about, let's see. You were
talking about how they're going to take away food stamps and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought to look at the big picture and understand that people don't like to work? They really don't. They like to spend money. They don't like to work.
Right.
So you've got to prepare the population for the industry you're going to bring in so you'll have a workforce. So that's why we're hearing some of these terrible things.
Yeah.
And the last thing I got to tell you, Mike, is all men live a life of desperation.
Mm-hmm.
Did you catch that one?
All men live a life of desperation. Elaborate on that more.
Yep. And those are the three thoughts I had to give you.
All right.
I'll let you expound upon them, and I wish you'd really expound upon how you need to prepare the public for the industry that comes in. And me and you both know people don't like to work.
True.
So
very good point. Well, Pat, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you for those three thoughts there, Mike. Think the world of you, man.
Appreciate you,
and
my friend.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak forward. And Paul, I tell you what, I really get a kick out of you, fella. I enjoy listening to you talk. Of course, I'm a Southerner and you're a Yankee, and that could be why I enjoy listening to you talk. Y'all have fun.
All right, my friend.
Now, you hear?
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Okay, bye.
Oh, that's great. That's a great
guy.
comment. I was born in West Virginia, but I was raised in North Carolina, so I'm kind of like all over the place on that, Mike. But I'll let you go ahead and hit on that first, Mike.
So one of the things I want to touch on is just preparing people for the days ahead. So once again, like a lot of the things we talk about happens to be what's labeled real news, but yet there also has to be some type of encouragement amongst the stuff we're talking about here. So if people recognize a change is underway, hopefully you are aware of the fact of your need to adapt and to adjust and to then begin taking action steps outside of what you've been doing prior to. Now, everybody's situation will be different, but ultimately, as Pat mentioned about no one ultimately wants to work. And so it's more so most people don't want to work a job that really doesn't bring out the best in them. And so the shift will be into something that you are excited for, which will probably lead you down some type of pathway of entrepreneurship, or you being able to serve whatever it is your direct gift might be. And so that's kind of where I'm excited for 2020, because I'm heading down a pathway of encouraging people to, take whatever it is they have now, whatever skill they have now, find a way to serve it to somebody. And you'll get so much fulfillment from it where you won't look at it as work. It'll just be more so you serving. And I think the future for your livelihood will come from how many people you serve, as opposed to having someone pay you a check to serve them in their best interest first. So, but I have a lot more stuff coming in 2020. I'm excited. But anyway, Paul, I'll let you touch on that.
I just wanted to touch on a couple of the other points that he hit. And actually something that came up in the chat while he was talking as well, too. But swine flu, go look at a map around, central northern North Carolina, and there's a lot of funny correlations between federal agencies that are all right there in the mix. You got, you got mental health, federal mental health institutions, you got federal prisons, you got USDA there, you got CDC, you got weapons biolab there.
Yeah.
It's no coincidence that there's this massive swine flu pandemic going on in China. I mean, I would not, it would not surprise me at all. In fact, I would expect it that the whole swine flu thing came across because of bioweapons development and an attack against China. That would be what I would first assume before anything else.
So they weaponize the food?
No, weaponizing to destroy China's food production, right? As just bioweapons in general. But you are weaponizing the food essentially because you got to have the food, right?
Yeah.
So weaponized food there. And then another thing that someone said in the chat was something about go to Walmart. And I mean, I feel bad about this, right? But like with my kids, they know I talk about it as like Walmart zombies, right? And it's just like, that's one of the reasons why I like to go to zombies, because to me, it's like, because someone said, is it going to be like The Walking Dead? And that's like the very first thing that I thought about was like, well, go to a Walmart at any time of the day at any Walmart, and it's like The Walking Dead already. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I mean, I mean, it's when I look around at my fellow Americans, man, it's just I'm ashamed sometimes, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I'm one of the people that love taking advantage of the cheap prices to this day. So I'm not gonna knock my Walmart people because you gonna definitely catch me in there one of these days, just because it's the go-to store for emergencies for me. So, but yeah, before we get ready to dial back, someone here, Conscious Observer, reference, and I know there's a couple prior to thoughts or whatever about the monetary system that's coming. And so it looks like he says, I really think we need to talk about the next monetary standard and how we would like this reset to pan out. And so I'll share my little two thoughts, and then Paul, you can do the same. And so as far as the next monetary standard, there's two ways of looking at it. There's what we as a people who are awoke and somewhat active, as far as us deliberately taking actions, acquiring precious metals and whatever else you consider to be a tangible asset worthy of your time. Then there's an already predetermined plan, it's the establishment of whoever already set in place. And the question is, how would those interconnect? Because as of now, there will not be enough public effort to deliberately create an environment that's friendly for the public in general. So we're going to be steered into some type of government, society, or whatever that's already pre-planned. So you can fight it, or you can learn how to adapt to it and roll with the punches, but still put yourself in position to be able to withstand the downturn that's coming. So whatever that standard is, it's going to be predetermined. And for me, from a biblical standpoint, it's already played out that we're going to go digital. We're going to go to one world this, one world that. That's already in the future, according to my belief system. And so between now and that time frame, what are you doing to position yourself to be of service, to be a blessing to people, and enjoy your time on this earth? So as far as us being able to directly control this new next standard, it's about what standard you create for yourself. What standard are you creating for yourself, your household, your family, your children, your grandkids, kids. So outside of that, it's nothing we can do directly to impact what happens in D.C. other than just for ourselves in our own home, and then let it trickle off from there and educating those around us. So that's just my little 2 cents. But Mr. Half-Dollar.
Yeah, those are all excellent points. And I guess the question is, are they going to have enough time to implement this new digital system that they want to implement, right? Mm-hmm. Because here's the other thing, right? And I think about it like updating a website. When you roll out a brand new website or something, there's going to be like bugs and things that they're not, glitches and things that they're not anticipating. So if they don't even have the infrastructure built up to begin with, right, then they might not have time one way or another. But even if they do have the infrastructure built up with, there's going to be a crisis to push us into that system. Yeah. And then once they push us into that system, it's going to be really glitchy, really buggy, and really just like there's going to be a lot of unforeseen issues that come up that's going to make a chaotic situation even more chaotic, which is why it's even more important to defend from that and to protect yourself from that now, which is gold and silver, right? They're talking about the repo market and the liquidity concerns. The thing that I got thinking about, they're talking about the 4 biggest banks. And, is there a run on the banks going on that we're not being told about right now? There could very well be a run on the banks now.
There is. I'm more than confident there is a run on the banks. And it has to do with the fact that the whole repo activity is meant to cover it up. So not only is the repo, all that funny money, all the funny reserves is being created out of nothing, it's being used to prop up, and it's being used to probably help out Deutsche Bank, and it's being used to position all the executives as they're selling off their stocks right now to not cause the share prices to drop. So no doubt that repo money is probably covering a lot of different areas. So yeah, no doubt I'm more than convinced we're in a panic mode. It's just they're trying to keep calm because it's all about confidence. So as long as the mainstream news are pacifying people with, holiday season cheer, shopping and all that stuff like that, it gives them time to break in 2020 in a way that we would have never imagined, unless you're anticipating it happen anyway, like we are. So, my 2 cents. But let's touch on Federal Reserve and FOMC. Mm-hmm. And so you're saying it's not priced in that they're going to cut now, they're going to hold. And my thought process is they probably will, but I wouldn't be surprised if they cut. And so at this point, because it's a scramble, we're in emergency measures, in my personal opinion. Therefore, all those, as I mentioned before we went live, about all those indicators that say they're pricing in this and pricing in that, at some point they're going to shock the world. They're going to shock the market. So it could be now, next week, next month. Pretty soon they're going to shock the world in a way where the Fed speech, their little foretelling or forward guidance that they typically like to use, will not work, and therefore the wheel's going to fall off the car eventually. We're going to come to a screeching halt, probably.
Yeah. I'm expecting, because the terms that are used are called dove, right? As in dovish, or hawk, as in hawkish. So if you're a dove, it means like basically you're a wussy and you're going to be printing money and lowering interest rates and all that stuff. And if you're a hawk, then, you know, you can hunt when you need to hunt and you can take care of yourself, right? So hawkish is good, dovish is just bad, right? So in a sense of monetary policy, it means you're easy money, right? You got the printing presses flowing, you got the interest rates come down and all that stuff. So I think that the Fed's going to hold today. It's priced into the market as a hold anyway. But that said, I think that when Jerome Powell steps out and reads a statement and then takes the press conference questions at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, I think that he's going to come off as very, very dovish, right? Because if he doesn't come off as dovish, then that's a lot of pressure on the markets because A, you're not cutting, you're holding. So can the market sustain it without that extra from the Fed? And then B, if he comes out hawkish, well, not only did you hold today, but now you're adding on pressure to the stock market to bring the market down. But it's getting me to thinking about something else. There's a lot of crazy stuff. Last week, what we saw in Florida with that whole horrible incident with that shooting, just yesterday, that nasty shooting in New Jersey. I don't know if you heard anything about that. I saw a 1-minute video clip about it, and the news report was talking about police say that they're shooting at anything that's moving. And I'm like, oh my God, there's like civilians in this convenience store, right? Anything that's moving, they're shooting at. It's just crazy, flat out crazy. But my point is, you know, all of this chaos that's all around the world, it's starting right now. And they're individual little fires and individual little spats here and there. But, you know, I think that something has snapped in the collective psyche of America, right? So if these markets don't come down, if, you know, people don't understand this, but subconsciously, if the stock markets keep going up and up and up and up, and as this wage disparity and wealth disparity keeps just increasing, if they don't bring these markets down, it's going to get really ugly really quick in the streets of America. This is just this bad feeling that's been brewing along with all of this tongue biting I've been doing all week. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, here's the thing. When they try to bring this down, because it's ultimately a matter of just the unsustainable nature of the debt-based system. And so the only way they can continue to keep things semi-stable is to create the way they're doing through repo action. And I also came across an article yesterday about QE4. Like I think it was Credit Suisse. One of their top economists said that QE4 before the end of this year. And I'm thinking like, the repo market will keep them from having to announce it as QE. So today, what I wouldn't be surprised at hearing, we're going to drop, or we're not going to drop, but we're going to start being more accommodative to the market. So we're going to announce that we're going to, outside of the repo activity, we're going to now look to purchase yada, 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 or something like that, which could be that QE announcement that gentleman referred to, or who knows. But the goal is to bring this thing down for a smooth landing. And whether it's a smooth landing or crash landing, by bringing it down, that means that the transfer of wealth out of the hands of all the savers around the world will be lost in the devaluation of the currencies that will be impacted by these defaults that will go on. And so there's no way of really keeping social unrest from hitting the streets. It's more so, what type do you want? Do you want the slow protesters, or we don't have a job, to I lost my job and my money, now I'm about to go to somebody's house and get something from them? Or so it's just a matter of what kind.
I think that scenario, as bad as it sounds, would be better in the long run, because we could just get through this nasty mess quicker, you know, because it's got to get through this mess, right? It's got to get through this crisis. And, you know, that's why I started out talking about, it's just irritating me when they're talking about Volcker as the last honorable man at the Fed, right? Because, you know, just like ISIS beheads people, right? The Fed's killing savers indirectly. They're killing elderly with their policies when they have to choose between food or medicine or heat for their house. You know, that is literally killing people. So, you know, yes, the savers are going to get destroyed here, but in the end, we all have the same information. So, you know, that's just how it's going to be. Most people are going to get slaughtered in this. So finish us out today with something positive, Mike, so we can have a happy Friday.
Well, okay. So with that being the case, what's positive? Like I mentioned before, like, you know, it's two ways of looking at it. You can be a pessimist or optimist. You know what's happening around us, and so it's more so, what's your belief system? What's your core? What are you operating from? What is your paradigm, and what are you deliberately creating for yourself and for your family that can help you and you guys through this shift? And so it's unfortunate that what's occurring now is going to be a globally systemic event, but nothing is new to humankind. And so we've had recessions, depressions, panics, and all types of things before. It's basically going to be a famine that happens around the world. And then, like always, mankind becomes innovative and there will be opportunities for you to create your way out of the mess into something probably a little bit more prosperous than you were prior to, if that's your mindset. So once again, all boils down to what type of world do you want to live in, and if you want to live in it, create it for yourself. Don't depend upon nobody else. So that's my little 2 cents there, Mr. Half Dollar.
Well said. That sounds good. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. That's all I got. So if you want to wrap it up and then sign us off, we're good to go there, Mike.
Sounds good. As always, if you guys have enjoyed the back and forth, don't be afraid to click that little donate button. Not donate button, but the thumbs up button. So donate a thumbs up beneath this video here. And then down in the description, there's social media on Twitter and whatnot. Connect with me there, as well as Mr. Half Dollar. And then also come back Friday, bring some stories with you, and we'll discuss the events that happen today and tomorrow on Friday. Same time, same place. Share this video, invite a friend. We'll see you Friday.